two that we'll have this month. The next one will be the 31st, which will be the last Monday, and that will be our September meeting. Tonight we've got a lot of good stuff tonight to report and to hear from the department heads, which I'm excited about. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And with that being said, what I've asked the board's permission to do is, in order to save space and be aware of people's special needs, I have opted not to ask a minister to come and be a part of what we do. They're welcome to come, but I've asked that the board allow one of the board members to deliver the invocation and also one to deliver the pledge, and the Boy Scouts stand ready. Once we get clear of the COVID, they'll be back doing what they do so well. With that being said, I'll ask that you stand, join Commissioner Shackelford in the invocation, followed by Commissioner Elks in the pledge. Commissioner Shackelford.
Let's bow our heads. Gracious God, our Father, the giver of every good and perfect gift, the creator of all mankind, Lord, we come before you today as almost we know how. Come thanking you, Lord, for your many 10,000 blessings, your many acts of kindness that you've shown towards us. We pray, Lord, that you will continue to bless our town, bless each and every resident that we have, oh God, that you would just continue to strengthen us along this way, Lord, that we would do the things we please in thy holy sight. Bless us, oh God, that as we stand before you on tonight, Lord, that we would do the things that would be right for your people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you for being here. Amy, do you have any citizen? We have no citizen presentations. With that, we'll move to the town manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items. Of course, we've got a hurricane/tropical storm that is potentially bearing down on us, and I've had conversations with police, public works, and utilities this morning, and talking about making preparations. And some of those folks, when they speak later on today, will get more in depth and sort of some of the things that they've been doing. So we're prepared. We'll prepare for the worst, hope for the best, that kind of thing. I did want to make a point that, in case anybody asked, Pitt County is not going to, has chosen not to open any shelters. They feel like the storm's going to get through pretty fast, and so they have indicated they're not going to provide shelter at Farmville, which is what they've done in the past. And of course, after the storm, we'll send out an email assessing the situation damage, hopefully not much of anything, but we'll send something out to you after we've been able to assess those things tomorrow. Biggest news, beyond the natural disaster stuff, is the Executive Order 124, which prohibited the disconnection of utility service, expired on July 29th. And as you recall, back on June 1st, the Board of Commissioners adopted a policy to address the delinquent utility bills, whereby the customer would be required to pay his current bill plus 1/6 of his outstanding balance or past due balance. And the standard repayment schedule would be 6 months. Some people may ask for more, but the default in the executive order is 6 months. Now, I was hoping to have specific numbers tonight, but I talked to Sandy today, and she's running those reports tomorrow when she does her cutoffs. We're not cutting anybody off because the bills that are going out are for July usage, so we won't be cutting anybody off, but people are already coming in and asking for payment plans. We put something on the website earlier today. We'll try to put something out in the newsletter, put it elsewhere, put it on Facebook. But the word is getting out that they have to pay, and so we hope to start collecting that quickly. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned the CARES Act, which is the pot of money that the Congress passed some time ago, and then since amended, they had more money. It's now up to $6,698,563 for Pitt County, most of which is going to be used by the county to pay their COVID-related expenses. However, the legislation was amended in the town's favor, and they are requiring that 25% of that figure, or $1,674,641, be distributed to the 10 municipalities in Pitt County using a formula that Pitt County will determine is fair. Right now, the county staff is proposing to distribute the funds based on population, which I would argue is not. While it's a no-brainer to figure out, it really doesn't represent needs of, I'm not sure Fountain's going to have a whole lot versus, say, other towns, but they would still, in theory, get some money. Not to pick on Fountain particularly, but smaller towns are just not going to have a lot of expenses, nor have they participated in discussion in the past. So if you figure the Farmville distribution as it stands from a staff standpoint, based on population, our part of it would be $67,527. Recall a few months ago we asked for $994,000 for the alterations that we are making downstairs, as well as other PPE and other things we spent money on during COVID-19 at the parks and different places. It's up to the county commissioners to make the final decision on the formula, and hopefully they will be a little bit generous, but as you can imagine, Green will get something like 78% of the take, and smaller towns, of course, don't. So while we would certainly want to get as much as we can, and anything is helpful, we feel like justify a lot more. So hopefully we'll know something from them as far as what the commission's going to decide. They have to act pretty soon because the report into to the federal government is due by September 1st. So we feed our information into the county, and then the county submits a unified report that includes all the town's needs. They incorporate that into their report and send it to the federal government. So we'll keep you posted on that, but that's where it stands as of last week when there was a meeting. Do not think that they discussed it since. They didn't discuss it in the meeting today, as far as I know, and their meeting tonight was postponed. So, but anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody have a question of David? David, I got several. We do have a letter in place that was sent asking for the 94. We do have that for the benefit of the board, so
Yes.
we are lobbying for that. The other thing I would like for you to do, and I wish we had a gallery here for this, but for the benefit of, hopefully Donna can help us get this word out. I want to elaborate on how moving to DMV has been good for morale, good for productivity, and good for safety, if you don't mind doing that, because that has been very well received.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up. As you recall, back during the retreat before COVID and all that, we talked about increasing our security within our building and also removing DMV from the midst of our finance department, Parks and Rec and all that, because it was disruptive having folks standing in the hallway in line outside of staff offices, and at times it got loud, people had to shut their door. We don't like to shut our doors, just to keep the public out, or we don't want that signal being sent. So the plan was developed, the board approved it back at the retreat, and we were proceeding with that. Of course, COVID hit. It became a security issue, but also a biosecurity issue. We added a lot of more glass and things like that, added a few things here and there. So it's turned out to be a really good project. The DMV office opened a couple weeks ago, and I think people were enjoying that. People are obeying the rules and not getting out of hand or anything. And plus, they're in a part of the building where they're not disrupting our staff. And that's the biggest thing. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. And we're hoping that we could get reimbursed from this CARES Act money, because that's structural changes to address COVID-19 concerns. It's one of the categories that CARES Act money can go to. So we feel we have a lot of things that we've spent, whereas a lot of other towns really have to scrape and scrounge to find things.
with that being moved and the people coming through the drive-through, people realize they can use that now, and that's something that has kind of been there for a long time, but not used as much. Agree?
Yes, sir. I talked to Amy this morning. We were talking about it, and I asked her again. I don't think I mean, today was the 3rd, so it's a busier day, but I think she would agree that most days the drive-through window doesn't back up that much, so it's not a big wait. People are getting used to using it. It's easy. They don't have to get out of the car. Our folks are behind glass. The folks in the cars don't have to interact closely with our staff, and they can make payments. So yes, we've been fortunate. Some towns didn't have drive-through windows. Hayden being one that I thought off the top of my head, they have to. I think they actually poked a hole in a wall and have a walk-up drive, or supposedly. But we're very fortunate to have that option. People are using it. We also have set up a kiosk out in the DMV outer lobby, or as you go down the stairs when you leave tonight. If you haven't noticed, near the Coke machine, there's a kiosk with forms that people can pick up, applications, zoning change forms, all sorts of things that they can pick up. And there's also lack of a better description, sort of a mailbox out there that they can drop plans and forms in, and we can check, sign up for Parks and Rec program, whatever. So we're trying to minimize reasons for them to come all the way in town hall. And so far, everybody, as far as I know, is received that. And then some of our staff, of course, in their reports are going to speak to making changes where more things are available online. It's been a win-win, for sure.
Just a little note, and now when somebody comes into the town hall, if they want to see the town manager, nobody says down the hall on the right, they're escorted in the building for safety reasons, and the doors have locks on them. So it just makes it more business for folks coming in and protects our staff a little better, and I think the escorting is a good thing. So David, thank you for that, and I thank the board for supporting what we've done with the DMV. That is a big plus, and the drive-through. Next,
and as you said, it is definitely a morale booster.
yes, sir, and I thank the town employees for their support, because they had a lot of stuff to move during that time. Next item we have is financial report. Anybody have any questions of Amy at this time? You have it before you. Anybody have any questions? Any questions at all? Amy, is there anything you'd like to add before we move forward? Okay. Item G is changes, additions, and deletions to the agenda. Anybody having anything? Town manager? Anyone? Is there a motion that we accept the agenda as presented?
I will make a motion we accept the agenda as presented.
Commissioner Elks has made a motion that we accept the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will accept the agenda as presented. Items for consent. You've had a chance to look at those items. Are there any questions concerning any item for consent? Any questions for items of consent? Seeing none, is there a motion that we accept the items for consent?
I so move.
Commissioner Hobbs has made a motion that we accept the items for consent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The items for consent have been accepted. That brings us down to item I, items for discussion and decision. First one is the consideration of amending Chapter 75 parking schedules for the town of Farmville codes and ordinances to provide for 15 minutes time parking and an additional handicap parking space in portions of R.L. Davis Lane. Chief, you got this? Who's got this? Okay. Major, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Commissioner, hope y'all doing well. Tonight, I want to bring a recommendation to y'all about some more timed parking and a handicap parking space on R.L. Davis Lane, which will be behind the flower basket where the new pharmacy is. As you all know, last month, y'all approved the timed parking spaces in the Bonnie's Alley. These 5 parking spaces have been extremely beneficial to the businesses in the area. And due to the success of these parking spaces, I would like to recommend that we do 3 parking spaces in the R.L. Davis Lane area. They would be the same stipulations as the one we had before. They'd be 15-minute parking. They would be 15-minute parking on a daily basis from 8 to 5. They would not be business specific, so they would benefit all businesses in the area. The restaurants that are back there, the new pharmacy, the Flower Basket. I've actually gone around and talked to some of the business owners, and they are in agreement that they would actually like to see some 15-minute parking spaces in that area. If you're not familiar with that area, they're 147 feet north of Church Street. So they would basically be, there's an island that goes all the way down to close to the Flower Basket. I would like to put the handicap parking space on the very end. That way we could have the hash mark so a vehicle could pull up and they could have their 5 feet. I've actually got on the website for the stipulations for that, and they would require a certain amount of feet so they could get out and open the doors and they could have wheelchair accessible. And then the time parking spaces, there will be 3 of them just to the south of that, which will be 147 feet north of Church Street. Any questions for me?
Does anybody have a question for the major? Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve that recommendation by the police department to put in those timed spaces as well as a handicap space.
Commissioner Ellis is making a motion to approve the ordinance implementing 3 time parking places, 1 handicap parking place, and the R.L. Davis Lane. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Major, thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next item, item number 4, I had asked Human Resources and David about this, and I hope the board will go along with this. David, I'll let you present this, please.
Thank you. This was an item that, as the mayor said, came up in a conversation as sort of a, I guess, a recognition of the town staff's work under uncertain and trying conditions here at Town Hall during COVID, the peak of the COVID pandemic or whatever. So it has no budget impact per se. I mean, it's a nice gesture, but it's not going to add anything to the budget. People would be off. I guess in theory, somebody might have to be brought in to cover the shift, but for the most part, it would create a financial burden. So this was a low-cost thing that would show a nice little gesture on the part of the board. It's a one-time grant of 8 hours added to the accrual for town employees if the board approves it. Really a good idea. If you recall, all of our staff, I mean, we obviously sent our part-time workers home, but our full-time workers were here every day. And it wasn't like they were just sitting around fielding phone calls and doing a lot of work. And of course, our field staff are still doing a lot of things. It's just a nice gesture.
I thank you for that, David. I don't think there's a person in here today that has not taken a text from me off duty, off Sundays, and I thank you for that. So I'll turn this over to the board. Are there any questions of David concerning this item? Any questions, any discussion?
Does this vacation time have to be used in a certain period? I mean, does it have to be used by the end of this year or something like that?
No, we have a maximum accrual of 30 days, so assuming they don't have more than 30 days of vacation, then they wouldn't be required. And even if they did go over the 30 days, we have like a bank vacation that we can buy. You can sell some of your time, and then whatever you can't sell, you can still, it converts to sick time. So it's still a value to the employee. But in answer to your question, no, it doesn't have to be used by, within 3 months or 6 months or whatever. It's just added to their accrued total.
I'd like to make a motion that to move that we give them a one-time grant of additional vacation leave.
Commissioner Hobbs has made a motion that we approve the additional vacation time for our employees. Any discussion?
I think it's great. I think it's a very good thing because they've all worked hard and given their time willingly and not complained. And with this pandemic, the way it is, it's going to, obviously, heat does not kill it, but like we were told at the beginning, and it's going to continue on. And I like the fact that we're not putting a limit as to when they have to use it.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for that, board, and I'm sure the town employees thank you also. Item number 5 is award for contract for construction of the Basin 5 sanitary sewer improvement in South Farmville. David, you and Richard got this, I guess. Richard?
Yeah, and this is the awarded 2018 Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Program, and it's kind of a continuation of the recently completed sanitary sewer replacement. This one is a grant that was awarded to the town, replaces sewer on George, Zeno, Walnut, Moore, and Cotton Streets. This is an area of predominantly low moderate income based on income surveys that were performed. Based on the project, we designed, received bids. Low bidder was Jones & Smith Contractors that are located out of Ayden. Submitted a low bid of $969,365. That construction value is under budget. And so what we have for your consideration tonight is a recommendation of award to Jones & Smith for their low bid amount and amendment of the capital project budget ordinance. And what we've essentially done on the budget is that we have allocated additional funds into contingency so that now our construction contingency is approximately $175,000. So what we will begin is the process of potentially looking at additional areas to further replace sanitary sewer so that we can expend all of that grant money. We do not want to be in a position where we turn grant money back in. And so that's a quick summary. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Would you, for the benefit of the paper, tell me those streets one more time? I just want to hear.
Sure. It's George Street, Zeno Street, Walnut Street, Moore Street, and Cotton Street.
Okay. Board, you've heard Richard. Are there any questions? Any questions?
Excuse me, what was the total grant amount?
$1,625,000.
So that leaves about $600,000 or $700,000 additional. Is that right?
Well, that pays, included in that cost is, all your, pre-bid testing information, your administration, your engineering design, construction observation, inspection, all your reimbursable expenses that are tied to the project. But you've essentially got about $1.2 million allocated for construction.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Is there a motion to approve the resolution amending the capital project budget ordinance and awarding construction contract? Is there a motion? Commissioner Shackelford made a motion that we approve the resolution amending the capital project budget ordinance and awarding construction contract. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Rich, the reason I ask you to do that is I'm of the opinion in the past 6 months, 7 months, we have spent a lot of time working on these streets.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for it. And I really am, I just thank you so much for concentrating on this, because I know that some of that had gone for years without being taken care of. So I thank you for that, and good luck with this project. And I appreciate you keeping abreast of everything and being a good steward of the money. Thank you very much.
We appreciate the help.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Item number 6. For those of you that have been on this board, you know what time it is. Commissioner Smith, this is our 6-month review. Things we said we were going to do in the retreat, and we're going to be graded now by the folks that we support, and they're going to tell us how close we are to doing what we said we were going to do, and there'll be another one of these in February. So this is information only. I've asked David to ask the department heads to come, and if it's agreeable with you, Town Manager, after each person presents, if a commissioner has a question, we'll go from there. And I appreciate you getting this for each of the department heads. Thank you for putting this in writing and giving it to Donna. And I am looking for a strong report in the Standard about what we have done, and we will find out now if we have done what we committed to in the retreat. With that being said, David Hodgkins, the room is yours, sir.
Okay, I don't know if you want to hear in any particular order, but if it doesn't matter, I'll go ahead and just call on these folks. We start with the Finance Department, Amy Johnson.
Good evening. The past few months, we all know the Finance Department has been involved with the renovations, which consisted of relocating DMV office, which we just talked about, to the back lobby area, where now it has its own waiting room for your DMV customers. We've also closed in the collections lobby, as well as added an additional service counter. The additional counter will serve at the customers, will assist them in other needs such as their service applications for new service and bill extensions and whatnot. It's trying to prevent them from allowing them back in all of the offices. So the second counter is for those type things. At least that's the idea that we're trying to create to limit customers inside of Town Hall. The DMV office opened on July the 22nd. It's our hope that the collections area will open the first of next week, as long as the glass for the additional service counter comes in this week. They're saying they're hoping to install it on Wednesday. So if that's the case, I'm sure we'll open by the first of next week. That's not confirmed yet, of course, but that's the goal. We're excited, of course, about these new renovations and being able to provide good services to our citizens again while practicing social distancing. During the process of the renovation, we've spent a good deal of time having to clean out our storage areas located within the Town Hall, at the Boys and Girls Club as well, and the town utility complex. Of course, all the discarding of old files was according to the North Carolina record retention schedule. June, I spent a lot of time updating all the town's vehicle equipment and property schedules for insurance purposes. Due to the update of all this, it did provide a lower insurance cost for our budget year of 2021. July, I completed the annual financial information report, which I submitted to the North Carolina State Treasurer's Office. I also completed Report 203 of deposits of investments submitted to the Local Government Commission. Something new is our agreement with Pitt County. For July, all taxpayers should have received their Pitt County tax bill, which did include the town of Farmville taxes on that bill. All delinquent property taxes for 2019 and back taxes will still be paid to the town of Farmville. And lastly, right now I am currently researching more online services that are offered by Tyler Technologies to be able to assist our customers online in the future. That's it. Any questions?
I enjoy the online. I've started paying my utility bills online just in the last 2 months, and I think that's a very nice feature. I never was aware of it before, but good job to you and the other folks who designed that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, let's go with police next. I think Major Spencer is going to
Mayor, Commissioners, I'm going to go over a few things, and at the very end, I'll go over some stats. We have actually had, due to COVID, and hopefully this is not the new norm, hopefully we'll be able to get back to the normal Farmville and the normal everything, but we've had multiple trainings, multiple presentations and events that have had to be canceled. Some positive things that we have done due to the mass gathering restrictions put in place by the governor is we have actually done, and I can't count all of them, but we've done multiple drive-by parades for people. We've done them for birthday parties. We've done them for graduations. We've done them for basically anything. Officers are currently completing their mandatory training for 2020. I would say probably over half the department is already finished with that right now. We're waiting on a few more to complete theirs. Our last hire, Officer Cartwright, he has successfully completed field training. He was riding around with Sergeant Hawkins maybe a month he was out. He's actually doing really well. With the him getting out of training, the police department is now fully staffed. I hope we can stay that way. Chris Robertson, he has been with us for a couple years now. We just moved him into investigations. He has shown a whole lot of initiative. He was taking his follow-ups and he was running with everything. He was not having to be told to do anything, and that's why he's in the position that he is in right now. Chief Green and I we sat down last week, and we're actually in the beginning planning stages that we're going to try to do a drive-in movie. Due to the mass gathering restrictions right now, we normally had the movies on the town commons, and we had really good crowds, but due to the COVID restrictions, we're trying to figure out a way around that. So we're looking at going old school and doing a drive-in movie. This would be, and I don't know if I'm sure, no, I'm not calling y'all old, but a lot of people know how that would go. We're looking at getting FM modulators where people would be sitting inside their cars. We could hook the audio up to that. They could sit inside their cars, turn their radio to a certain station. They could listen to everything through the speakers inside their cars without getting out, without being in large groups, and they could actually watch the movie on the big screen that we have got. If y'all are not aware of it, Officer Alton, she was actually involved in a motor vehicle collision while she was on duty. She is okay, but at the current time, she's on light duty waiting for some testing to come back. It is not her fault. And we actually, I'm pretty sure most of y'all have heard about this, but we had a fatality crash that happened out in front of Pizza Hut on 7/18/2020. And that crash is still going on investigation. And last but not least, I'll just read some of the monthly stats that we had for the month of July. Total calls for service was 1,934, 27 reports taken, 25 warrants served, 11 arrests made. Vehicle accidents, we had 8, and traffic stops 50, and citations 18. Those are slowly coming back up. We did have our reports during COVID were actually probably cut in half. Just people weren't out, they weren't out and about, and I guess that's a good thing in our field. They weren't breaking into stuff, and we were actually worried that the calls were going to actually skyrocket, but they actually pretty much got cut in half. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, remind me what our discussion was about the radios, what we finally decided we were going to do.
We were going to get radios, but due to the COVID stuff, with the budget restrictions right now, that's not a go. Hopefully we'll be able to come up with some money later on in the year, and we hopefully can purchase some radios maybe later on in this budget year.
I couldn't remember if we had approved money for that. They would be very helpful.
Yeah, we got a storm coming tonight.
Yes, that's all I have.
You know what excites me about your report is that during July or June, whichever this was for, you had 1,900 calls, and less than 200 of them were something bad, and 1,700 of them were you just going out helping folks?
Absolutely.
I think that's commendable and says a lot about the job that you guys do. Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Spencer, on behalf of the board, from our retreat to where we are 6 months later, are we on track with what you were expecting this board to do for the department?
Yes, sir.
Get radios would be heroes,
Getting
right?
radios would be a huge help, not only for the police department, but for the rest of the town.
Okay, and I think we have a plan in place for that, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dave.
Okay, information technology, Brian Spear.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The main thing that's going on is the partnership was approximately about 6 months ago, we signed with Conterra Networks. That is actually being implemented now. They've gotten all their equipment co-located in our room. Our appliance vendor is actually an American company. I know, shocker, but so with COVID breaking out, we had essentially a delay on getting that appliance. That appliance is here. Our modules will be here tomorrow. Long story short, anywhere between August 8th and the 22nd, depending on how well testing goes, we should be on that network, which is good for the town we have more upload connectivity and more download connectivity because we remote connect to actually access our Tyler software and pretty much everything in the police department now. Just kind of speed things up there. And they have 2 lines ran on each side of town. The chances of that line going out would be, you'd have to cut 2 things simultaneously on 2 opposite sides of our town. So it's good for redundancy's sake. That partnership will be excruciatingly beneficial for the town. We're also looking at launching Microsoft Teams. You guys might have seen a lot of commercials for that. We're gonna get that on every workstation, hopefully have an IP that can point in, so if people wanna host virtual meetings, they can. Just a resource for us to have. There's no real, in particular, usage we have for it, but if people wanna have individual or one-on-one meetings remotely, they can. Other things for the upcoming year, obviously the website and the sound in this room. We're gonna look at those 2 things. We've got to get a new camera system over at the substation. Me and Chief are working on that right now. Me and David Miller have been working a lot with NC Sound about the library project, making sure the racks are put in correctly, making sure that drops are where we need them. I'm trying to think about, other than that, I mean, we can get into upgrading Active Directory servers or moving data or anything like that, but I don't want you all to go to sleep on me too much. Essentially just upgrading servers to newer versions. Right now our login servers 2012, which is still pretty standard actually in this day, and we're going to move that to 2019 the next year. Any questions?
Is this board delivered for 6 months for you?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go with planning and code enforcement.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Just wanted to kind of run through a little bit of what our department has been up to over the last several months. Despite Town Hall being closed to the public for the last several months, that has not stopped our service delivery in our department. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the numbers, and compared to the same period over the last several years, our department has actually seen an increase in both permits issued as well as inspections conducted since the outbreak of COVID back in March. So our department, through all of this, despite Town Hall being closed to the public, we've been able to continue to provide the same level of service to citizens in the community that we were pre-COVID, which has been a good thing. In the same period of time, we've also looked at finding ways to improve service delivery for individuals that obviously had not been able to access Town Hall. So we've been working with Brian and IT to update the current planning webpage on the town's website. And so just a few things to note with that. We were able to upload electronic versions of all of our permit applications, whether it be rezoning, special exception, food truck permits, you name it, they're all there now. So citizens don't have to come to Town Hall. They still can, and we're able to utilize the drive-through as well for some of the service delivery as far as permit applications. But citizens can now go online, access all the permit applications, and email those into us, and we can process them and handle payment remotely. So that's something that we've worked on to try to improve service delivery, and we hope that's something that even post-COVID will help to just speed up our service delivery to citizens and customers. In addition, along with talking about the updates to the webpage, one thing of note, I did want to let you know that our full code of ordinances are up online again if you go to the planning webpage. I know that was down for a bit. We were making a transition from American Legal Publishing handling that to now we're handling all of our ordinance updates and maintenance in-house. That has been uploaded. Right now, unfortunately, if you go and look at it, if you click it, it's a PDF, but it's just one document, so you do have to kind of dig through to find what you're looking for. But I have been talking with Brian. We are looking at trying to find some software that would make it easier if you're going in, specifically you're looking for something in the zoning ordinance, make it easier to navigate instead of having to scroll through a huge 500-page document. So we are looking to work on improving that, but we at least have the ordinance back posted online now. So if someone does have a question, they can go find that online, because I know that was a question we got frequently, especially for our zoning ordinance, looking at setback requirements or sign permits, things like that. so we were able to update that. As far as projects that are going on, we were excited to start work with Electricities on the Smart Site Certification Program for the Satterwhite Farms property. As this board's aware, this was the property in which we extended the ETJ a little earlier this year, and just recently entered into the option agreement for this property. Myself and Mr. Hodgkins had the kickoff meeting with Electricities a couple of weeks ago. Within the next couple of weeks, we should be going into the next phase of that project. And again, that's for site certification for economic development purposes. Another project we've been working on, as I'm sure the board's aware, we talked about at the last meeting, updating the livestock ordinance for potentially the inclusion of allowing chickens in town. I appreciate the comments and feedback I received from this board. I've also received comments from individuals of the public who are interested in this. We're still working through that process. We're planning to take that to the planning board at their meeting next week and bring that back to this board at your meeting coming up on the 31st. We've also been continuing to work with the Mideast Rural Transportation Planning Organization. We were able to submit 4 sidewalk projects to be considered for funding by DOT. We were able to get those submitted this past week, so we'll hopefully hear back from those in the coming months. Additionally, as you're aware, we've been working, looking closely at Census 2020, just to provide you a quick update on that. As of July 30th, Farmville had a response rate of 61.2%. That was slightly ahead of North Carolina, which had a 59% response rate as of the same date. The Census Bureau was hoping that they would get an extension on census collection because of COVID. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, so the plan is now to send the enumerators out to go door to door beginning on August the 11th. So if you haven't responded, you can expect census takers to be coming to your door at that time. Finally, the last thing I've got, planning staff are working right now on updating our code of ordinances to come into compliance with the 160D legislative changes that were signed into law back in July. So over the next few months, you'll see some ordinance amendments that'll come before you that'll be looking to bring our town ordinance into compliance. And this time I'll hand over to Paul. He's going to provide some updates from code enforcement and housing.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I went back to July of last year to find out where we were on new homes and stuff like that. Since July up to the present date, we've had 7 COs issued for the town of Farmville and in our ATJ too. Now this includes some of that. We've got 12 actually in progress at this time. So the housing market right now in Farmville is really jumping. It's going really well. We've got Dalton's Cove that's scheduled to come on at some point in time. And also down at the end of North Field Street, there's 3 or 4 houses getting ready to go up down there. So from what I'm seeing, the housing market right now is really going well. Planters Walk had a new owner took over probably last year, year before last. And since that time, they've been very aggressive in building, getting those lots sold. They're building spec houses out there. So, and it's actually as quick as the guy can build them. He's a really innovative type builder. As soon as he can build them, they're selling them. So, and the same way at Heritage, the owner is, he's got 2 spec houses right now. As soon as they sell, he's going to build some more. He's got a couple more properties going on in Greenville and Greene County. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he's getting ready to come back over here to Heritage. I did kind of took it on myself to go around and check Heritage, Birchwood, Charter Oaks, Planters Walk, and Eaglebrook. There's only about 24 or 25 lots left in those subdivisions, so we need to get this new Dalton's Cove subdivision going. And of course, there's some properties out on Stantonsburg Road that, there's some couple subdivisions out there that still have some lots going. Of those 19 homes, that's the total value of those homes is about $4 million, so that's adding to the tax base. Now, all of that won't be the town of Farmville tax base because we do include our ETJ, and we've had 4 homes built out on Tugwell Road. I think all of you guys know where that is located. And then we've had a couple out on Stantonsburg Road. But still, it's adding to the tax base. So I think we've done a really good job as far as the housing in Farmville. I look forward to increase even more this coming year too with these new subdivisions coming on board.
Didn't the engineer with Dalton's Cove meet with you prior to you going on vacation? So there is,
Yeah, I've talked to him on the phone, I haven't actually met him
Right.
for some time, but I did talk to him before I left.
and you did mention the ones going up beside the Armory between there and the ball field. You mentioned that.
That's on the end of Northfield Street.
Right, okay.
Yep. Questions?
Appreciate what y'all do. Justin, same question as everyone else. Half year from what we talked about in retreat, how we doing?
Good.
Okay, you don't have to say that now. You can give us, we can take a B- if necessary, but I want to thank y'all for what you're doing, because I can stand in my driveway and count 5 houses going up, and I am truly, truly excited about where we are and what we're doing, and that says a lot about our town. And last week or so, we had a tour of folks that came in and toured Farmville, a walking tour of downtown. And I cannot begin to tell you not only the things they said about the housing, but what they said about downtown Farmville. So, and naturally, the houses has been a shortfall of ours for many years, but now that has taken hold. And I thank you for what you're doing, and I thank you for your response to the contractors and the builders. They tell me that we get there quicker than any other town around, and I thank you for that. And I hope that holds through too as we begin these 42 new houses. So, thank you so much.
I did forget to mention too, we do have a 56-unit apartment complex going on.
They look nice too.
Field Street, so they should be on board probably by the end of the year, they'll be completed.
And just to be clear, while we're building, we're also taking them down, those that need to go. Are you on track with that?
Yes, sir.
That's good to know. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Brenda?
This is gonna be for Paul and for Justin. I don't even know if but anyway, okay. My question is, we're getting a lot of talk, and people asking about the cleaning up of South Main, some of the housing down in that area. There's a couple houses that I've talked to you one time, Justin, because I had some concern from a neighbor. What's happening with that house?
So we actually, Paul and I met about that one this afternoon. So around the time you emailed me, we talked about that. We went down, we talked with the owner, and he explained to us what he was doing at the time, and we were good with that. He was following through with the work and had been doing so for much of the summer, but then within the last month, everything's kind of just hit the brakes, and unfortunately, progressively, it looks like that lot's gotten worse. So we talked today about that, and we do plan to reach out to contact them. Progress was being made there. It actually was starting to look a lot better, but unfortunately now it's kind of going back to how it was when we had our conversation. And so we are going to need to address that again and speak with them about that.
Yeah, all those vehicles parked on the side, those, well, to me they look, well, I won't say what they look like. And then the big trucks and things, which I know is against our ordinance. And what about the house on the corner of, and Wes, this may include you too, the house on the corner across from the old funeral home, that the grass has gotten really, really high this summer? Is that Wallace Street? Is that Wallace Street? Yeah, what about that house? I mean, that's beginning to look really bad, that yard.
That house is going to be on my list.
Is it? Okay.
That's on property, so we'll be going out to that soon too.
Okay, now I have one more question that's going to include Brian, and if I'm out of line, please stop me there. Can a person live legally in a house with no running water or electricity? Is that legal?
Not that running water,
No electricity, but
not running water.
Okay, that's what I need. Thank you.
I thank you for what's going on. I really do. I get good comments about it, and I thank you. Thank you, David.
Public Works.
Good evening. Currently, we are cutting Town Hall, Main Museum, Community Center, Boys and Girls Club, the EMS building, Little Red School, Boy Scout hut, Girl Scout hut, Murphy Park, flood lots, ordinance violation lots, the entrances to town, circles, and then the big three, Hollywood Cemetery, Sunset Cemetery, Forest Hill Cemetery, and portions of the NCDOT right-of-ways, the Arboretum, ditches, several vacant lots owned by the town, as well as our operations complex. We are still picking up citizens' household and yard debris daily, cardboard from local businesses, and pallets from Meztec, Sag Harbor. We're using cold patch and asphalt when available to battle old and new potholes throughout our jurisdiction. We have aged infrastructure here in Farmville, and thus we are having to make repairs to the storm drainage system often. We also open and close graves at our 3 municipal-owned cemeteries during regular business hours, as well as weekend work. We're still sweeping the business district on Tuesday and Friday mornings at 5 a.m., as well as many other sections of town as time and equipment allow. That's kind of what we're doing on a daily, weekly basis. Our fall goals include the contract, the paving of several complete streets, Blaylock and Baldry being 2 of those, multiple portions of streets and intersections, as well as Bobby Hodge Lane, which we talked about in the retreat. We're having the removal and cleanup of several hazardous trees within the town right-of-way. One is Horn Avenue and the other one is on Continued Street, as well as the removal of trees in RT Monk Park prior to the resurfacing of that street. We're having major renovations to the community center, including lighting, flooring, interior paint, etc. The exterior work has already been begun. They've cleaned it, pressure washed it, sealed it, treated it, and they're getting ready to start the columns out front. They look kind of small right now, but they're getting ready to be brick columns out front. So that building's getting ready to get a real facelift. In October, the grass cutting will begin to slow down, and we'll start our annual free and daily leaf pickup. And now that we're not under a hiring freeze, I'm currently looking for 2 full-time positions and possibly a couple more seasonal. I did hire 1 seasonal this past week. I didn't have it on y'all's list, but I thought about it afterwards. Me and Rich Moore had lunch last week, and we talked about 2 storm drain jobs that have got to happen this year, and hopefully will happen in the fall. And that is Moore and Barrett Street, which is prone to flooding, and also the replacement of a storm line at Rex Noble's property. So those are things that we're hoping to do in the fall. So, any questions?
At Hollywood and Forest Hill Cemetery, is there any way that we can maybe get one
Faucet. Yeah, I need to get with Brian just to find out. I don't know what the status is of that whole irrigation system out there. I know some of it had begun to have major leaks, and I think at one point they turned the whole. I think Jeff Stansel had turned everything off instead of making the repairs, and so we probably need to turn it on, see where the leaks are, and then make some repairs.
If we had one, maybe, one place that we can get water in the cemetery, I think we would be fine. There's a lot of people here.
For cleaning stones and such. I got you. Yes, sir.
Can you tell anything about Jones Street where they're right between Todd Garris and Chris Baker? There's a really bad spot right there in the street, and I know a little kid riding his bicycle a couple weeks ago got his bike tire caught in the
Yeah, I'm aware of what you're talking about. I think it's something we can go ahead and probably do with some cold patch. There is some valves down there, so it's not actually just a break in the asphalt. There's like water valves, gas valves, and so what it is at some point the valve had been replaced, or at least the valve cover had been replaced, and so there had been a bit of asphalt removed, and so now we just need to bring it back up to the valve cover, so it'll be flush.
Well, yes, earlier the part of the year, we met with the railroad, and it was a really good meeting, really good tour. Reports I got back were positive. For the benefit of the town and the board, I'd just like maybe a couple of sentences on how that relationship is going with the railroad.
Well, I tell you what, at some point, I don't know how it got strained, it had become a strained relationship, and then you lined up a meeting, we sat down with them and had a good talk, and we actually did walk through, and I was able to show them some of the things that they were neglecting on their end. And they came in a few weeks after we had our meeting, and they began to remove the railroad ties that had fallen down in our drainage system. And I mean, they've made a conscious effort to work with us, and they've given us contacts that we can reach them anytime we need to, which at one point was hard to do, was to get up with anybody. So that relationship seems to have been mended, and thank you for that.
It was a long time coming. I thank you for your effort that you put into that, and that was something that I think we're very proud of, and I thank you for your leadership on that. And I know the folks that live along the railroad where you were cutting today certainly appreciate that. 4 to 6 inches of rain. We ready?
We went out today and cleaned all the catch basins. We've worked on some outfall ditches. I think we're all right. We will have some flash flooding. There's no doubt about that. But I think it'll catch up pretty quick, and we'll be okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Parks and Rec.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For the past couple months, we have recently partnered with Top Gun, a travel ball organization, to provide locations within the town to hold travel ball tournaments. For approximately 6 weeks, our team has monitored these tournaments at both our fields on Ryan Drive and Pitt County's fields at the high school. We've also partnered with David Miller and the library to install a story walk trail in Oliver Murphy Park. Chris and I will lead various story walk programs, as well as David and his team throughout the year. This can be Walk With Ease programs, it can be children's stories, it can be adult stories, whatever. I'm just really glad that David got that grant, because that, increases the amount of programs that we can offer. We're also reopening programs. Yay! So August 1st, we reopened registration for T-ball and soccer. They're actually almost halfway full, which is awesome. Games and practices will begin mid-September, dependent on COVID-19 guidelines. So as soon as we get more information on Phase 3, or NCRPA and NRPA actually released a, for lack of a better description, red, yellow, and green marker identifier that labels sports safe, not safe, or contact. Contact would be COVID is in the sport, which would be football. So we're actually looking really closely at what sports to offer during the fall, what sports to offer now. And finally, last week we concluded our senior Babe Ruth baseball program for youth ages 13 to 18 through the Pitt County Babe Ruth League. Leagues consisted of teams from the following communities: Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Greenville, Bethel, and Farmville. And in addition, our girls softball program is also ongoing with 3 age groups, 8U, 12U, and 16U. These games are held in partnership with Pine Tops, Rocky Mount, and Sharpsburg. And that's going well. That's at our athletic complex off of Ryan Drive, and also we use the high school fields. And lastly, which should go without saying, our disc golf course is going amazing. So with the help of the police department and local partners, it's booming. We put up the sign. We had to take it down for the hurricane, but we put up the 8-foot sign that we made for the disc golf tournament. Chief Green and Jeffrey helped out tremendously. So we've just been getting immense amounts of good reports. We reopened our survey. We have about 45, 46 responses so far. Almost all of them are overwhelmingly positive. It's the same survey structure as we had the first go-around. Where'd you learn about it? Have you played the course? Have you looked at our website? Have you contacted us about an issue? And all of the responses are overwhelmingly positive. With that said, are there any questions?
I'd like to commend you on actively pursuing sponsorships for that.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I think there's a lesson to be learned from that, because it is a great place to market, and you have used that wisely, and I salute you for that.
Thank you.
Good way to raise money, too.
Touche. Brenda, I know you have a question.
I do. And are we going to be able to have our fireworks in September?
I'm glad you asked that. Everything is, I've checked off every box and sent it off, so it's out of our hands completely now. We've scheduled the band. We have started prepping for food. The fireworks said they're going to be here September 3rd. So if nothing changes, we're having fireworks. If something happens, it'll be because of governmental impact. But as far as us, Chief Green and I and Major have talked about fireworks. Everything's a go.
Right, okay.
So I hope.
Yeah, COVID just isn't giving us a break, you know, at all. So, thank you very much.
Any more questions? Thank you, guys.
Okay, public library, David Jones.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm happy to share some highlights from the library over the past month. To start with, the library's facility project is about 58% complete. If you've driven by, you've noticed there's a lot of red brick up and white cast stone. The red brick is completely installed and the white cast stone is about 75% installed. I know some of the town staff and some of you have been through the facility. It looks really good. I mean, the walls are in, plumbing, pipes and everything. It looks really good. It's really coming together. I've been working with Mr. Hodgkins and various town staff closely on various aspects of the project, as well as our architects and Ferrier and Sons, and everybody's been really great to work with. Also, along the same lines as the facility project, I was notified on July 24th that the building project was awarded a $350,000 USDA Rural Development Grant to go towards that project, so I'm very pleased with that. Other projects and programs going on. This past Friday, I was notified that our library was awarded a competitive CARES Act grant, close to $10,000, which will allow the library to acquire 28 hotspots with internet service to lend out to students in Farmville. This is an important project, in our opinion, at the library because virtual learning is going to continue for the foreseeable future, but data shows that 19% of households in Farmville don't have internet connection, so obviously that's problematic, and this also coincides with Pitt County Schools' implementation of laptops to all of its students, so we're hoping that some of these students who get these laptops will also be able to have Wi-Fi to connect to the internet to complete their schoolwork as well. We crafted the grant application with some folks from Farmville schools, and we let them know on Friday that it was awarded, and word has already gotten out. We've been actually getting a lot of calls about the program and when they can sign up to get one. So we definitely saw a need, and there seems to be a need. Some other programs we have going on, even though the library opened up on June 8th, we're still not offering in-person programs yet. A lot of our programs will bring 25 to 50, sometimes even more people, and since we're still promoting social distancing, we're kind of offering alternatives and virtual programs. One of the things that we've been doing is our Meals on Wheels program, which you may have read about. Myself, along with Heather Harden, who's one of my staff members, we've been delivering meals about once every 3 weeks to recipients, but also bringing reading materials like books and magazines and newspapers and whatnot. And it's been overwhelmingly positive so far. And about every recipient of the meals is also asking for reading material. And of course, we're spending a little bit of time engaging with them, talking to them, learning about their interests, so we can, next time we come by, we can bring magazines and books that they actually want to read and learn more about. Isaiah mentioned that we're about to install a story walk program as part of a health grant that the library was awarded in June. One of the programs as a part of this health grant project that we were able to implement already is through a partnership with Agricultural Extension Pitt County office. So basically, the library was able to get grant funds to buy ingredients for healthy meals and snacks. And so participants come to the library to pick up the ingredients, and later on in that day, the Agricultural Extension Office will lead a Zoom program where they're guiding everybody in real time through the creation of the food and of the meal itself. And we have ingredients for up to 22 families, and the few weeks that we've been doing it so far, we've had it's been sold out, for lack of a better word. So it's been very popular. And I'll also mention that we have a new employee, Madison Owens, who filled a vacancy for a youth services library assistant position. She's been a lifelong patron of the library, and she was also a volunteer at the library previously, so we're happy to have her. And next time you come to the library, please stop and say hello to her. Are there any questions?
thank you for helping us with helping Farmville with the Meals on Wheels program, and the Camp Cooking Fund program seems pretty cool too. But, so I'm not really tech oriented or whatever as much as I should be. The hotspot thing, what is that? Tell me, what is that?
Sure, it's just a little device that will give you internet access pretty much wherever you are, certainly anywhere in Farmville and Pitt County. So for this program, if a student is given a laptop from Pitt County Schools, but they don't have internet access at home to complete their homework and log in virtually to attend a class session, if they have this hotspot, they're able to do that. Obviously, without it, they wouldn't be able to, which is obviously problematic. So this just provides that internet connection that's needed to be successful in school.
And do they have to pay anything?
No. So it's completely free. This grant project is fully funded through the CARES Act. Yeah, they just come to the library, check it out, and it's kind of just like checking out a book. The library already has an existing hotspot program, lending program, and there's always a waiting list of 15 to 20 people, so there's certainly a need for internet access in Farmville. Not everybody has internet at home. Obviously, not everybody has a computer at home, despite assumptions. So
that's awesome.
Folks really do rely on the library for these essential services.
When do you get those, or are they already?
No, we officially can't spend grant funds until August 15th, but I'm working with Brian Spehard to make sure on August 15th we put that order in, get them delivered to us, and then I'll have a staff member who will catalog them, just like we catalog books, and then we'll make it available as quickly as possible. Hopefully by the end of August, it'll be up and running.
That's fantastic.
Do they get to keep the hotspots for the whole school year?
So with a lot of grant projects, it's really, we're going to evaluate it and see how it goes. We're going to get 28 hotspots, which was the max allowed under this grant. I feel confident that there'll probably be more than 28 students who need them. So to begin with, we're going to allow a 1-week checkout period and just see how it goes, see how long the waiting list is, and make adjustments if needed. Any other questions?
Was the day Library Day, National Library Day or anything?
Today?
The reason I asked, my first call came in this morning, first text a little after 6. I was summoned to an office this morning at 9, and several other comments about the library. And understand you have a young lady down there that's does quite a good job at getting grants and things of that nature. I understand you have an employee that's doing that now. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, we're all kind of working together. So for this, the CARES Act grant, our children's librarian, Connie Whitney, and also Candace Williams, who is our library technician. So I had them work on the grant together, and I kind of looked it over before we submitted it to the state library. With the health grant that we were awarded back in June, so I worked on that with Connie, Candace, and also Heather Harden, and we all took a different aspect of that grant to work on and research, and that grant was awarded. So I'm very pleased with the staff that I have now, and all of them, it's clear that they can write a really good grant application. They know how to do the research. They know how to submit it. They're always looking for different ideas. They're always coming to me with different grant ideas and whatnot. How can we offer this through grant funds? So.
Well, today was your day, and I promise you that the accolades that were extended to the library today was something like I wasn't expecting on a Monday, but they certainly came all day long, and I salute you and your staff for what you're doing. And keep doing what you're doing, because that's a tremendous asset for Farmville, and the people you talk to are thrilled. And the good weather you've had have kept you with the 58%. So I thank you for what you're doing. That means an awful lot to the town of Farmville, and I had no idea until today the impact that it will have on people moving to Farmville. But I actually heard that today from somebody that's in the know. So I thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Last but not least, we got utilities, Pine Chapel.
Save the best last.
Short but sweet.
I want to play off a little something what Paul said earlier about the new houses coming in Farmville. We definitely do, because we installed 5 new services this month. Hooked up 5 more temporary poles. Locates, we do locates constantly, so there's definitely work going on around here. We've been trimming trees around town, you probably noticed some. And if you've noticed, we've had a construction crew in here changing out wire for us, East Coast Construction. There's some local people. And they're gonna making a big difference in just changing this wire out. So old copper wire been here probably since way before any of us probably born, 30s and 40s. And we replaced it with 1/0 wire, which is going to help us out in the long run. Less resistance on the wire, and it won't break as bad. A lot simpler to work on. And for electric, that's about it. And on sewer now, locates, they jump up there about 50 a month. They're because we got so much stuff out of town. They kill us on that, and but it's good. We're not having any cuts and stuff, which is a good thing. And we've had about 3 customer complaints over the last month on water, which was 90% of them were water heaters. They were smelling the water heater, water out of there where we switched from chloramine to chlorine. We had our annual inspection with public water supply this past month, and it went well. It surprised me for my first one I've been through, but it went real well. We've been flushing hydrants out on dead-end lines outside of town, which is freshening up the water. This heat has been really killing our chlorine. In fact, we've had to drop some of the tanks down low to build it back up. And we're still doing our weekly lift station checks of our sewer system. And we've got a couple we got to work on. We got one out at Carolina Medical we got to do a little work on, and Greenfield Heights. Just some problems where when they built them places, they didn't put in stainless steel pipe to hold the pumps in place, and it's just rotted out, old galvanized stuff. So we've got the stuff to do it. We just got to get in there to get it done. And we've had 6 sewer services we've had to wash over the month. Any other questions?
I failed to ask, and I'll come back to y'all that I missed. 6-month review for what the town said we'd do in the retreat. Where are we with you?
We're good.
We're good?
Yep.
Thanks, Brian.
David, if I may take the liberties and ask Wes the same thing. Wes, what, for the 6 months, where are we with what we said we'd do? Isaiah?
No, good.
Hey, I appreciate your honesty. And David, even though it was your day in town today, how we doing over there? All right. David, you'll follow up?
Mayor, can I ask something real quick?
Please.
When you guys talking about grants, it reminded me that our part-time animal control officer, I just received an email right before the meeting that she put together a grant request to American Humane, and at 5 o'clock today, she will $1,000 for medical supplies, for any type of supplies for our animals.
Thank you.
That's great. She's doing a really, really good job too, I think, out in the community. She recently did a little drive where she asked for supplies, and like I immediately sent stuff from Chewy. She had other people do that, but she was very receptive of people donating. When we had the pet food pantry over here, she came and set up all the cones and got it all straight so that they could give food to everybody. I think she's really, really good at what she's doing.
David, can you give us a follow-up and maybe some comments on the number of new businesses that have opened in Farmville since we've been under the COVID?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is that we've retained our businesses. A lot of small businesses suffered during the close down, but our folks are resilient, and they in there and they were open or reopened, and the public supported the local businesses. I think that's really good. We've got several new businesses. Farmville Drug is probably the one that's gotten the most play recently. Got a antique toy store on Wilson Street, which is neat. A lot of interest in other storefronts around town. But we're doing well. There's a lot of interest and excitement about Farmville. We talk about the residential but there's also a lot of business interest. And there's also a lot of interest among our existing folks that own buildings in town to renovate, upgrade. Things happen, and Mayor heard this the other week, but we've spent a lot of money on facade grants and that kind of thing, but we've got 10, 15-fold back in private investment, private sector, so it's really a good investment. Already getting a lot of interest this year, so we're going to come back for some additional funds from you soon. But we've just got a lot of interest in our grant programs. We're sort of a model among other towns. It's fairly frequently that I get calls from people who want a copy of our ordinance program description. And we have a lot of innovative programs that cover a lot of different areas. So we're definitely business friendly and incentivize doing a lot of renovation. I think you're seeing things are definitely moving forward on all fronts.
Anybody have any questions of any department head or the town manager at this point? Any questions? Anybody? That being said, it brings us down to citizen comments. Any citizen with a comment? Directly related to the business of the town, please.
I was listening to your review, and I know you're going to be leaving soon, and so I was making a suggestion, and you can pass it on to to whomever the handoff. I'm guessing that's you. Is going to happen in December, and I've always lived in cities prior to coming here permanently. About 10 years ago, and I've always observed in other places that anonymous calls are not allowed except in the case of murder or something that can lead to murder. Okay, and we require that people identify themselves when they make calls. Then we cut down on the possibility of false calls. As accountability increases, false calls dissipate. And so we can cut down on the witch hunting and the various things that I have been able to observe. So I suggest that for our local department here, if you witness something and you have a valid complaint or whatever, you should be able to identify yourself when you give that complaint, and you should be, and that person should be told that if you cannot identify yourself, then we cannot respond to your problem, your perceived problem. And that's the suggestion that I have.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time to come to the town board. That being said, before we adjourn, I'll start with Commissioner Elks and go around for closing comments from the commissioners, please. Commissioner Elks?
Thank you all for everything you do. Our town employees are very important to us. We couldn't be good stewards of everything that we try to do without each of you and the people in your department, and it's very appreciated. I ask that tonight, those of you that have to be out in this storm, to please be safe, and I ask that you don't be climbing any poles until the wind is blowing, because we don't want anything happening to you. But I thank you all for everything you do to try to keep our town the most special place, as Judy Gidley always said, the most special place on earth.
Commissioner Shack?
Again, we would like to thank all the town employees for all they do and all the support that you give, not only to your department, but beyond your department, to the citizens of this town.
I cannot do anything but echo Commissioner Elks' shock to the fact to the employees, but also to the citizens of the town, because we've got a good bunch of people that live here and a good bunch doing the work for the town, and I think it makes a great combination. So we're real proud of our employees and all that you do.
Thank you. Commissioner Dixon?
You know, it's funny, Brenda, you brought up Judy. She refers to Farmville as heaven, but she told me not long ago in heaven, and she knows this from a credible source, in heaven they refer to heaven as Farmville. So it's really commendable for the town that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Hobbs?
I want to have my closing comments by quoting a favorite person that I like, George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver said, "It is simple service that measures success." And I want to say that as I heard all the department head give their 6 months report, you are serving Farmville. And one of the things that I hear people in Farmville say when you say, "How you doing?" they say, "I'm blessed." But then I turn around and say, "Are you blessing others?" So I want you to know that after hearing your report, I can clearly say that you are blessing the citizens in Farmville, and it is simple service that measures your success.
Thank you, man. I want to thank the commissioners on several levels. First of all, I want to thank you for taking my mail on Friday, my calls at all hours of the night, and my texts and my emails. And for the town's benefit, we are working very hard to get our share of this money that the federal government is sending down. We send out letters constantly. I want to thank Commissioner Beth Ward for helping us get the COVID test site here. She worked as hard on that as anybody. Tom Colson, Lauren White actually came over. And my dear friend, Melvin McGawhorn, chairman of the board, they worked hard to get that for Farmville. And I want to thank the chief and his department for going down and making that run just as smooth as we could. I appreciate that. And with that being said, we are working hard to get our share of that money. I want to thank the board for being good stewards of the money, and that's reflected in our fund balance and where we are with our projects. And based on what we said at the retreat, you have told us that we're on track. When we meet again in February concerning that, we'll see if we've met the town expectations. I want to thank each and every employee because each of you have gone above and beyond, and I want to thank the town board again for giving you that additional day off, and that certainly is not enough for what you've done as well as your department, but it's our way of saying thank you. Some years ago, it was determined that Farmville needed several things, and in those several things we needed to complement our 4 schools on one campus was housing. And the housing is coming. Paul, I want to thank you for that. I want you to thank you for building them up, and I want to thank you for bringing them down because we're doing a good job with that. And my friends on both sides of town, all 4 sides of town, compliment about how we're doing and how we're cleaning up the neighborhoods. Chief, I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, and when people call and want an area patrolled or whatever they may need, just as was done on Vine Street, I thank you and Major Spencer for your quick response on that. Recreation Department, that was determined some time ago as being one of our most important things, and you folks have stepped up. And anytime you make a national magazine with your disc golf course, in my idea, you have arrived, and I thank you for that. Do you know I know anything about disc golf? All I know how to do is sponsor a hole, and it's worth every dime we spent. And I hope you'll continue to do that, and thank you for the summer programs. Commissioner Dixon, Commissioner Smith, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing downtown to promote business and bring business to Farmville. As I said earlier tonight, we had some guests come to Farmville because towns are watching what we do. They like what we do. When we toured the town, Commissioner Smith caught up with us and gave a version of why we're growing and how we're growing. You take the businesses, you take the housing, you take the schools, and you put it all together, and pretty soon this board is delivering on what we said we could do and would do. And this board is acting as one Farmville, and I am truly, truly proud to represent that in what we're doing, and that means an awful lot to me. And just recently, a friend of mine told me, he said, you can tell a lot about a town on how it looks on Sunday. I said, explain. He said, if I'm telling you I'm coming on Thursday, it's going to be looking good, okay? It's going to be looking like a shiny penny. Absolutely. He said, that's why I chose to come on Sunday, and the tour came on Sunday. Absolutely. and when they saw churches having church service in their driveway, in the parking lot, and when they saw a clean town, and they saw housing going up. Folks, I want you all to know, if we were giving out medals and necklaces and winning and first place trophies, everybody would get a trophy tonight. And I thank you very much. On behalf of this town board, I thank you for your leadership, I thank you for your commitment, and I thank you for your dedication during this time, because when other towns have rolled up during the COVID, Farmville has put the pedal to the metal. We have kept focused, and we have stayed busy, and we continue to grow through something that this world has never seen, and each and every one of you are to be commended for that. And as I've said to the town commissioners, and they get this in a letter from me, what we fear most is what we need to do the most. And I thank you for that. And with that being said, is our motion we go home.
I so move.
There's a motion that we adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Now give yourself a hand. Come on, people.